What happens when the older generation in your life passes on? Maybe your dad is gone, or maybe your mom, or maybe uncles, aunts, or leaders in your church or community are gone, and people now look to you for leadership. For Joshua, this happened when Moses died, and God pressed and said, "Here's your personal battle plan. Be strong and courageous." Today on the Next Stage podcast for men, Rob talks about the 5 pillars of a battle plan for a man who has reached the point in his life when the guard has changed, and it is time for him to step into the role of leading himself, his family, his business, his church, and his community. These pillars include: first, an assessment of your present reality; second, a call to remember; third, a fresh assessment of your past, present, and future; fourth, a renewed daily pursuit of God; and finally, a battle plan. Welcome to episode 33 of the Next Stage podcast with Rob Stout. The Next Stage is a production of Sherpa Unlimited Personal Coaching based in Denver, Colorado. On the web at sherpaunlimited.com/the next stage. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast, and we'd appreciate a 5-star rating. So let's turn off the distractions and get a notepad and pen. Here's Rob Stout.
Today, we're going to continue with our series, What Really Matters. And this is a series we've had some guests on. You'll remember Bart Lilly, Jonathan McGinley, Steve Rosskamp on our last episode. And we have several more coming. Today, it is your lucky day, lucky night, wherever you are at. It's just me. So sorry, you got to deal with it. I am really excited, though, to continue the steps in what really matters, and really picking up on where we were in episode 28. And I get informed all the time that I'm referring to the wrong episode, but this one, I'm sure it's episode 28. We talked about a story recorded for us, an account recorded for us in Joshua chapter 1, and it was with Joshua. He was taking over leadership of the nation of Israel. Behind him stood an entire generation, all the journeys, the epic stories in Exodus and Deuteronomy of Moses. Joshua was his aide. Moses had passed away, and Joshua was now the man to lead the nation of Israel, both politically and government and the whole thing, and the armies, into the promised land. And they had 31 hostile empires that they needed to conquer, who were certainly not going to roll over for them. And if you want to recap that, please do so. It's in episode 28. And there was a phrase in that episode, and the phrase in Hebrew was Rak Kazak Amatz. And it's where we get in English our translation, be strong and courageous. What I want to do in this episode is take us a step deeper into that. That episode was all about hard truth for a soft generation, and it was about being strong and courageous. But I want to, in this episode, kind of loop those together, and I realize there's been some time in between, but I want to jump into the rest of the story, if you want to call it that. The rest of what's in there, because there is such meaty stuff in there that I, as a man, need. I know you, as a man, need. And we're titling this episode, Your Personal Battle Plan. And by that, I mean, in the things that you face every day in life, the challenges that you face, be they at work, that revenue stream that you are accountable for, that project that you are leading, that team that you're leading and developing, and you're leading through them. You're not just an individual contributor, but you're responsible for a lot of the revenue of your company, or whatever you're responsible for, whatever you do. That challenge at work, or that challenge at home that you're looking at and you're facing, whatever that is, or the internal challenges that we talk about a lot on the Next Stage. So I want to jump into, we're just going to go right for it. I want to jump into Joshua chapter 1 and take a look at, as Paul Harvey called it, the rest of the story. And I don't have that Paul Harvey voice, the rest of the story. Well, that's not too bad, actually. Not bad. Let's jump into Joshua chapter 1. Again, if you want to recover this, go to episode 28, or the entire book of Exodus, entire book of Deuteronomy. Let's jump in. Starts off like this. It says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua. So God is speaking directly to Joshua. We have got a kind of an eavesdropping viewpoint here to get in on the conversation God has with the next point leader of this nation. Lord says to Joshua, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River that I'm about to give them to the Israelites. I will give you every place where your foot sets. And then he lays out all of these boundaries, where it's going to be, all that kind of stuff. Nobody's going to be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I'll be with you. I'll never leave you. I will never forsake you. Be strong and courageous. That's that phrase. Because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Again, he repeats it. Be strong and courageous. Be careful to obey all the law that my servant Moses gave you. And do not turn from it to the left or to the right, that you may be successful in whatever you do. Keep this book of the law, in other words, God's word, his instruction, always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it, that you may be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Love this passage. And the reason I want to jump into this is that I have done some looking at this. I've talked to a lot of men about this. I'm so glad that so many of you are emailing, and we just heard from a new guy this week, and a couple actually who reached out. Guys I haven't talked to in a long, long time. Like, Rob, I can't believe it. Love the podcast. I'm like, thanks. I'm glad you're dialed in. But I want to jump into what is talked about here in your personal battle plan. This is as true now, what we're talking about here, as it was when this was written. And this was written 1400 BC. So if my math serves me correctly, 3,400 years ago. So long time ago. But human nature and the needs of men and the needs of our souls and the needs of our lives haven't changed that much. Technology has, for sure. The things that they were facing there, for sure, different setting, but the same things. So what I want to do is take a look at 5 things that God lays out to Joshua as a battle plan for your life as well as his. Ready? Let's go. All right. Number 1, it's very interesting to me that there's a number of ways that this could have started. The entire book of Joshua could have started off like a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, or once upon a time in a land far away. Instead, look at this. Moses, my servant, is dead. What a gripping start. But what I realize here is that God deals with a present reality. That's point number 1, a present reality. That God deals with a present reality. He doesn't soften it up. He doesn't just kind of throw softballs at Joshua. Joshua knew where he was. He knew that Moses had died. It was now his role that he was stepping into. Joshua, I think, needed to hear from God because of what he says later on. There was something going on, and God meets him right in the present reality of where he was. And I wonder for you, what is the present reality of your life? What's the present reality that you're dealing with right now? Maybe it's, as we talked about, pressures at work. Maybe it's the economy. Maybe it's things that are happening in the stock market. Maybe it's the load that you carry to support your family. Maybe it's something at home. Maybe it's the struggles you're having with a relationship. Maybe your wife, like mine, has a very difficult husband to deal with. But you never view it that way, right? No, it's always her issue. Maybe you're dealing with a child who is just kind of hell-bent on destroying their life. And you're like, gosh, if they would only just lean into what I have to say. Well, welcome to parenthood, I would say. But that's just part of the load that you carry, right? As we talk a lot about on the show, your present reality may be an internal struggle that you face. It's an anxiety or depression that you can't get over. It's identity that we talked about last episode with Steve Roskamp. Go check that out, please. That episode with Steve was incredible. But that's what it is. And so in your present reality, I would like for you to grab your phone, grab a journal, grab whatever you've got, and write down what that present reality is. Just write it. You know what it is. Just like I do. I know what my present reality is. I know the stress that I feel. I know the weight that I feel in certain areas of my life. What is your present reality? Write it down. Okay? It doesn't just stop there. And here's why I'm really glad. God does not leave us in our present reality. In fact, if he did, we would end up hopeless. We would end up just kind of in a spin cycle. Yet another teenager that I am one step away from took their life this week. If we do not have more than our present reality, and we do not have someone to bring us into something more than that, we are hopeless. And I stood this week with a group of leaders who were helping to support this teenager that took their life, all of their friends who were going through this. And I just thought, oh, gosh, there's so much more. That's where we live. That's where our present reality, if we didn't have more, would leave us. But man, God gave us so much more, and we're going to move through this rather quickly. If you want to dialogue about any of this, email me, please, rob@sherpaunlimited.com. But the thing that we get is not just step one here of a present reality. God does meet us right there, and he holds us right there. But what he does is he gives us, number two, a call to remember. He says in verse 5, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Here's the interesting thing. This wasn't like, as I was with Abraham Lincoln, so I will be with you. I don't know Abe Lincoln. As I was with George Patton, I will be with you. Okay, as I was with whoever in history, I will be with you. Joshua was with Moses for 40 years. He probably came out of Egypt with these slaves. Can't prove that exactly, but more than likely was very, very young. He was more than likely at Mount Sinai at the Ten Commandments. He definitely was a young aide that Moses brought along. There's a passage in Exodus. It says that he stood outside of the tent of meeting, which was where Moses met with God every day. Started thinking about this. This is where the ADD brain is very, very handy. If it's a tent, you can probably hear what's going on. It's not like these are, soundproof walls. It's not like the sound, in between the soundproofing they put in between hotel rooms. Hopefully you haven't been in one that didn't have good enough soundproofing. I was once. It was not good. Another story for another time. But Joshua was with Moses. He saw things. He heard things. He even tasted things. He received the manna that was on the ground every day. and he believed God for things. He was one of the two people, Joshua and his friend Caleb, who both survived this entire generational change, that believed God. They went into this land that they're right on the edge of right now, and they saw giants. I mean, later on, the story of David and Goliath, 9-foot tall dude, same people, that's who they saw. And they're like, we are going to get crushed. What did Joshua see? What did he hear? What did he feel? What did he taste? What did he believe God for? And what did he wait for? 40 years went by. He and Caleb were the only two survivors of this generation. There is a call to remember, men. A call to remember. The question I have for you is, beyond this, to your life, what is your call to remember? What have you seen? What have you heard? What have you tasted? What have you experienced? What have you believed God for? What have you waited for that God has done in your life? In your life. About 2 weeks ago, I sat down with my journal in the morning. It's a leather-bound journal. Don't have it in front of me right now, but you have a similar thing. A journal, a piece of paper. You can get a legal pad. It can be notes on your iPhone. I don't care what it is. But I had the ability to take a look back, starting in about 2008, and just trace some of the things that had gone on in my life. Just the highs and lows. It could be a timeline. It could be a bar graph, whatever it is. I had the ability to just walk through and remember. There's that word again. Remember what God had done through some really great times, through some really low times, through some times of career growth, through some times of career difficulty, through some times of inward growth, deep inward growth, through the times of great times in my life, deep times, good times, bad times, all of that. I would challenge you to do the same thing. Grab whatever it is that you use. Notes in your iPhone, a legal pad, smoke signals, I don't care what you do. But stop and wait and listen. And don't just deal with the present reality, but deal with a call to remember. Why? Because it tells a story. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to take a look at the incredible thing that God does next, not just with dealing with present reality, but with a call to remember. We'll be right back.
Men, are you tired of going it alone? Hey guys, this is Chris, one of the producers for the Next Stage podcast for men. You've heard Rob Stout say this: whatever your struggle, the road to recovery starts when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to challenge you to join a Sherpa Freedom Group, a group of men circling up not just to commiserate, but to lock arms and conquer. Go to SherpaUnlimited.com/Sherpa Freedom Group right now, or just send an email to thenextstage@SherpaUnlimited.com. That's thenextstage@SherpaUnlimited.com.
So let's keep going in this process. Not just a present reality and a call to remember, but the third thing that God does is he helps Joshua with a battle plan. And we want to convey this to you, your personal battle plan in what really matters in life, knowing how to walk day to day in the ups and downs, the difficulties, all of that you face. The next thing that God presents is right on the heels of this call to remember. It's a past, present, and future promise. God says, I will never leave you and I will never forsake you. This is one of the most famous verses in the Bible. In fact, repeated in this context just a couple different times. It's recorded all throughout the pages of Scripture. It's recorded in Hebrews chapter 13, which means it's not just Joshua's stuff. It's not just for him. Some of this, if God said, hey, Joshua, I'm going to give you a pot of gold. Well, we could have never said, well, God, where's my pot of gold? We can bank on this. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Never leave you, never forsake you. If you journaled that little timeline or recorded that little timeline, however you did it, I want you to look back at it right now. And I want you to ask the question, did God ever leave me? Did God ever leave me? Not was it dark at times, not was it really dark at times, not did I go through what felt like the valley of the shadow of death, not did I experience pain, not that question. Did God ever leave you? As I look back at my life, I can honestly say, no. No. That promise is a past promise. I can look back. And guess what I can do? In the present reality of my life, I can also say, God isn't leaving me now. Guess what it sets the table for? Never means, in the Greek, in the Hebrew, in the Aramaic, in all these languages that I've researched, that seminary degree coming to bear, never means never. Okay? It means past, present, even future. God is not going to leave you. Do you feel courage growing a little bit here? Do you feel strength and courage having a platform that it grows from? I do. Because my present reality, plus a call to remember, plus a past, present, and future hope does something very significant. It calls me to the next part number 4 of this battle plan. It's a daily rhythm. And it is interesting. I'm not sure why, but this is something I talk about a lot, probably because it is the most consistent thing I do in my life. More than working out, more than even time with friends, more than anything I do, except time with my wife and work, this is the most consistent thing in my life. And I've developed it over the years. And God says, listen, there's a daily rhythm to this. There's a daily pursuit of this. In this series, the first one that we did was called the number 1 pursuit. And it's like God does not just leave Joshua hanging here. He doesn't just say, hey, Moses, my servant, is dead. There's your present reality. I will be with you always. Just like I was with Moses, I'll be with you, and good luck. No. What does he say? He says, be careful to obey all the law that Moses gave you. In other words, and I can contextualize that for today, not all the rituals and not all the commands about worship and how it was supposed to work in that society, which, by the way, were very good things. But to us today, that just means seeking God every day in the way that you are built, the way that you are designed. He says, don't let this stuff leave you, but meditate on it day and night. I don't want you to turn from the left or the right, but the result of all of this, he says it right there, is that you are going to be prosperous and successful. Well, I don't know about you, but I kind of like that part. I want to be prosperous in what I'm doing. I want to be successful in what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that we are going to just be instant billionaires. This isn't that con job kind of theology. Instead, God leads us in a way that will bring prosperity and success the way that He has outlined it for us. And it might mean financial success. It might mean career success. It might mean relational fruit in your life. I'm never going to let you go. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. I want you to be prosperous and successful. It is amazing to me how many guys talk to me. And I do it too, mind you, okay? But how many guys talk and say, wow, man, this just isn't going well. God's kind of just dogging me. He's just left me, he's, and I'm like, bro, he has not gone anywhere. Where have you gone? And I need to look myself in the mirror and ask that exact same question. In my work life, I learned a long time ago that I was up and I was down. And in life, I was that way as well. Probably just being wired more emotionally. Sometimes I just get all jacked up and then I experience some downs and that type of stuff. But I developed a little mantra in my sales career years ago. And it was that consistency is an everyday thing. Kind of sounds like Yogi Berra. When it's over, it's over. It's not over till it's over. But consistency is an everyday thing. It's amazing to me that so many men are like, well, things aren't going well. Things aren't going well with my wife. Well, are you consistent with her? Well, no, but, we should be. Well, okay. Be that way. I'm out of shape. I'm in bad shape. I got, my blood pressure's through the roof. Okay. Are you taking care of your body consistently? Me too, guys. Things are going well with God. Well, okay. Are you pursuing him consistently? Consistently? That's what God's talking about there to Joshua. As a leader, I want you to have your life centered on me. This battle plan, it's a present reality of looking at things right here as they are. It's a call to remember. It's a past, present, and future promise. It's a daily reality or a daily pursuit. And then what? Well, God just is like, well, okay, you're good. Good time. Good conversation, Joshua. No. He doesn't just leave him there. It's not like a peace out type of a thing. No, because there's work to do. God knew what they had to do. Everybody in the whole nation, especially Joshua, who waited this for 40 years, knew what they had to do. They had to go conquer 31 hostile empires. 31 professional armies. 31 kings who have been warring back and forth for their dominance in the region. Their swords were sharp. They knew what they were doing. 31 kingdoms who had the best technology of warfare known to the time. Joshua had 12 tribes of people who were nomadic, who were wandering around for 40 years in the wilderness. How do you like those odds? God calls Joshua to action. It's action. It's getting off his duffus, for lack of a better word. It's moving. It's going. It's putting all of this into context and not being like the previous generation who were a bunch of softies who didn't believe God, and putting it into action. This whole passage ends with a call to action, a battle to fight. That's the call to action. A battle to fight. And this phrase comes up 4 times in 18 verses. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. In fact, God reinforces it and says, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Why did God say that? Because I think Joshua's tendency would maybe to be afraid and be discouraged. Just like you, just like me. To be afraid and be discouraged. Why? Because of all that stuff going on. But God calls Joshua to enter the battle. To enter the battle. To be strong and courageous. And that's where that phrase, Rock, Kazak, Amatz, comes from. Rock. Do only what follows. Kazak. It is to be strong. It's that rock type of fortitude, that spiritual zeal, that strength, that courage that doesn't come just from you and just from powerful motivational speeches that you might hear. It comes from the resolute fortitude that God brings men who follow after him. Rock, Kazak, last word is amatz. It's a Hebrew word that means to be obstinate, to take action, to be courageous. Rock, Kazak, amatz. Men, rock, Kazak, amatz. Be strong and courageous. But it's interesting to me, I've heard this passage preached as just a chest-pounding type of a deal. Oh, don't worry, we get to the chest pounding, but it starts, man. It starts with the present reality that we're in. Then it moves to a call to remember, to look back, to see God's faithfulness. Then it moves to understanding a past, present, and future promise that God, who is both in the past, present, and future, is never going to leave us. He's never going to let us go. Then it progresses to a daily pursuit of seeking after him, and then, and only then, does it get to a battle to fight. So I want to ask you, in the battle that you're in, going back to that present reality that you are called to go to, not to run away from, not to stick your head in the sand, not to tuck your tail, not to blame it on somebody else, not to wait for somebody else to come alongside of you, except for that group of mighty men that you travel with, that you venture with. But you are called to be there. And so at work, the things that you're called to do, the stresses that you feel, the things that you're responsible for, that company that you lead, if you're an hourly employee, that job that you have, that you're wondering if it matters. Yeah, it matters. It's being right there, being all in, right there, fighting that battle where God has called you to be. At home. The places where they do not hand out fancy acrylic awards that some of us have on our shelves, and we're like, that thing's worth about $50. I busted my butt to get it. They don't hand out awards at home. You don't hear Dishwasher of the Year is Rob Stout. He's a great guy. Well, look at him scrub those pans. Diaper Changer of the Year, Cody Holland. Look at Super Dad changing diapers. Dude, they don't hand out awards for that. But that, for some of you, in those places, it seems so insignificant. Those places matter. And you can be just as much strong and courageous there as where you are in places where they do give accolades. And I want to speak to you, men who are fighting internal battles. Anxiety, depression, questions about identity. Maybe it's an addictive pattern in your life right now. The time that we're recording, the NCAA tournament is going on, and I hear so much online gambling. So much. Men I know who are hooked on this stuff. And I want to tell you, that fancy hotel that Jamie Foxx is walking out of, that fancy car that he's getting in, that city that he's in, Las Vegas, that salary that he's making, none of that was built on winners, fellas. It's all built on losers. But somebody's in there taking your money, picking your pocket. And for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, that little innocent online gambling has become something huge in your life. So I just want you to consider the battle you're called to fight. May you be men of strength and courage. And the call to action I have for you is this. How would you put this into action? How would your life look different if you were to just pick one of these 5 things and put them into action at work, at home? Maybe with a battle you're fighting internally, or maybe something that God whispers in your ear, even as you're listening to this, you got to work on this. How would your life look differently? What would look different in your life if you were to put this battle plan into action? That's your call to action. Identify that, write it down, work on it. And frankly, I will keep your identity, I swear. I will keep your identity a secret. But I would love for you to email and just say, hey, Rob@SherpaUnlimited.com is the address. Hey, Rob, man, I was working on this, and I've seen movement and progress in my life. Man, I want to leave you today with this thought that your battle plan needs a present reality, a call to remember, a past, present, and future promise, a daily pursuit, and a battle to fight. Until we talk next time, may you be men of Rock Kazakh Amats, be men of strength and courage. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for joining us for the Next Stage podcast with Rob Stout. The Next Stage is a production of Sherpa Unlimited Personal Coaching for Men, based in Denver, Colorado. Learn more at sherpaunlimited.com/thenextstage or visit us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. For questions, comments, or feedback on what you'd like to hear covered in future episodes, email us at thenextstage@sherpaunlimited.com. The Next Stage distributes new episodes every 2 weeks on Wednesday mornings. The Next Stage helps men, built in God's image, to live their life with passion, power, purpose, and perspective. If you don't have a Bible, just download a free online Bible app called YouVersion for your smartphone. Go to your smartphone's app store and search YOU Version and select the YouVersion Bible. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.